Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and I've unintentionally selected guests this week who fall into a theme, and I'm going to let you guess what it is before I tell you who today's guest is. But yesterday on the show, if you recall, and if you missed it, definitely go back and listen to that episode. I had on guest Tina Muir, who is an elite runner. She runs a 2:36 marathon, and she's currently taking time off from competitive running to start her family, or she wanted to start her family, and she now has super cute daughter, Bailey, who appears on her Instagram from time to time, so you definitely want to go check out that just for a good smile. Tomorrow on the show, I'm having on Lori Richmond, who just completed her first marathon, the New York City Marathon, and is a mom of two living in New York City. And today I have on Mary, and Mary's Instagram handle is Marathon Momma 11. Not sure if you have figured out the theme yet, but basically I've interviewed women who are marathoners and also moms. So it's been something I did not plan to have happen for this week's episodes, but I think I like that it ended up this way because each of these women have some things in common, right? They're marathoners and they're moms, but they're also on very different parts of their running journey and came to it in different ways. So they have a lot of inspiration to offer in the fact that they have these commonalities, but also in their differences. So I find that they're very inspirational, whether you are a mom or not, whether you are a marathoner or not, and whether you care to be a mom or a marathoner or not. And I hope you'll enjoy kind of comparing and contrasting their stories as you tune into today's episode with Mary, yesterday's episode with Tina, if you missed it, and tomorrow's episode with Lori. Okay, so my guest today, as I mentioned, is Marathon Momma 11 over on Instagram, Mary. I first came in contact with Mary over on Instagram myself after getting inspired by all the athletes who braved that crazy weather that they had for the Boston Marathon this past year. And I've been following and inspired by her ever since. She has a great story to share with you, so I'm going to save her running journey for her to share. But she's had an amazing year this 2018, reached a lot of PRs, and she just started her running journey back in 2010. So it's been less than a decade, but she has done really well for herself and has qualified for and run the Boston Marathon several times. I'm also going to just put this out there. I think that she is the one who is most deserving of this title, Marathon Momma, out of all three of my guests this week. So let me know what you think after listening. Without further chit-chat from me, here is my conversation with Mary. Welcome to the podcast, Mary. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, I've been enjoying following you since you ran this year's Boston Marathon, but it's not your first one that you have completed, right?
No, that was my fourth.
Awesome. And kind of by following your journey, and we'll have to have you share your running story for the listeners, but you quite literally are Marathon Momma. You actually have run lots of marathons. You are a mom, but you even ran a Boston Marathon pregnant. So could you share a little bit about maybe that and also just your running journey in general?
Yeah. So it all started in 2011 when I signed up for a marathon after a half marathon. And I did it with my now husband. And then I fell in love with it and he did not. So I continued and just kept running. And I finished 420 was my first one. And then I went to a 355 and then a 340. And then I was like, maybe I can qualify for Boston. Kind of looked into it. And that's the year that it went from a 335 for my age group down to a 330. And I was like, oh man, if the standards didn't change, I could be really close. And now I'm 5 minutes and all that stuff. So then I trained and I did one more marathon, maybe somewhere around there. On my 5th one, I got a 3:26. And
Awesome.
so that was in spring of 14. So then I went to Boston in 2015 and kept running my marathons. And in September of 2015, I ran a 3:28, which qualified me for not 17, but 18. And I was already qualified for 2017 Boston from the previous Boston. And I was, debating. We were trying to start a family, but we weren't getting anywhere. So I was like, well, okay. So I qualified. A week later, registration opened. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll take a year off. But then I wasn't pregnant. So then I was like, well, I'll sign up. Then a week later, I became pregnant. I tested pregnant. So I was already pregnant. And so we had everything, the plane tickets and everything like that. But I had talked to my doctor, and they said, since you've ran marathons before, that they don't see there's a reason, as long as there's no complications, that I couldn't run this marathon. So I started training at almost 20 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
And it was all treadmill. Because I live in Michigan, so my husband didn't want me really running in the snow and all that stuff. So I did all my runs on the treadmill, long runs, short runs, everything. And I made my way to the start line of the 2016 Boston Marathon at 34 weeks pregnant. I was huge.
Wow.
And it was not pretty, but you get mixed emotions on the start line. People are supportive, but then they're not. And then, but it was interesting to see how many people are like, well, you shouldn't be doing this. And so many people that were cheering for you. And so then, of course, the last 6 miles was a run walk.
Hi, friends, it's Catherine. And if you are joining us for an out and back walk or run walk of 15 minutes, and that's the only time you have, that sound was your halfway point reminder. You'll want to turn around now. All right, back to you, Mary.
I had a lot of time to hear people cheering me on up those hills.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm definitely beyond impressed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have not, it's crazy that people were kind of giving you lectures on the starting line. That's pretty intense, but not for that reason, but just, it just seems so challenging. So I definitely give you some. Was that one of your hardest ones, would you say then? Or what would you compare that to, some of the faster times that you've been able to do?
It was hard in a different way because I didn't have a goal, time or anything like that. It was just hard because you wait in the village. I was starving, but I didn't know what to eat. I didn't want my stomach to be upset. And then I decided not to wear my belly band, and that was not a good decision.
Okay.
So I did that. So it was hard in a different way, whereas like if you're pushing the pace, then that's hard like mentally. This one was more hard physically at the end, the last 3 miles, running, trying to run. I was literally, I don't even think I was running at that point in time. I was just waddling to the finish. And so I could not walk for a day after.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But we were on the plane home, and our plane wasn't very full, so I took like a row to myself, and I was literally like sprawled all the way out, and the flight attendant is, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm fine. Just ran a marathon."
Well, that's good. I'm glad that worked out well, because that can really be, I know for me, just getting in the car after a marathon, like right away versus, trying to walk around more or have my legs, elevated to some degree, can make a huge difference. So
Yeah, it was. Would I do it again? Heck yes, I would do it again.
Oh, goodness.
That's just me. I'm crazy.
So was it a son or daughter that was along for the marathon ride?
A daughter, a little girl.
So has she been running, since or?
Oh yes, yes. So I'm the crazy buggy mama pushing lady that loves to run with the stroller, which is weird, but I love it. And she loves it, but she's 2.5, so we can only go for, an hour now. We used to be able to go. I used to be able to push her for a couple hours and do my long runs with her, but now it's like an hour, and then I hand her off to the husband, or he will bike me, and then she goes in the bike buggy, which she likes that a lot better than the regular stroller, I think, because it's like bigger and enclosed, and she can have like books and animals, food and all that stuff. So they'll go on my long runs on the weekends. They'll ride next to me, and they'll go for 2.5 hours with me. So.
Oh wow, well that's awesome. It's great to have the family support.
Yes, it is so much fun.
Well, you've had a really good year this year, right? You had at least one PR, your marathon PR, right?
Yeah, and a half, and I think I PR'd in every distance. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Every distance.
Any tips that you would share with the listeners, or anything that you might have changed that you think, or just more experience in running, over the years?
No. So this year I focused a lot on speed, and I actually put in time and effort into my training. Before, in the past, I only kind of ran. I qualified for Boston just on running at the same pace and not knowing what I was doing. I didn't know what a tempo run was. I didn't know what speed work was. I just ran to ran. And now I, through Instagram and talking with others and things, I know what speed work is, and, tempo runs, and how to, mix those up and run easy and hard and all that stuff. So for Boston this year, I incorporated a little bit of speed, but not very much. But then this summer, I played out a schedule, and I had a really, hard schedule with hard paces and things like that. So it does work.
Very cool. And then obviously we mentioned you run Boston a few times, but you've also run a lot of other marathons as well. Do you have any favorites, or, whether for the ones out there looking to Boston qualify and trying to, run a fast marathon, or just really fun marathons that you'd recommend?
So I've done a lot of Michigan, because my first ones. So obviously Bayshore, it's up in Traverse City, Michigan. That is my first Boston qualifier. So I like that one. It's like up on peninsula kind of, and you go out and back. That's pretty flat and fast course. I did my first run postpartum back. I did the Arizona Rock and Roll full marathon.
Okay.
And that one, I got a PR. Also, coming back, I was only 7 months postpartum.
Oh, wow.
But I really liked that one too. That one was fun, flat, and the views were gorgeous of the I don't know if they're mountains or whatever they are out there. The height, wherever I hiked. But yeah, I like that one. I don't know. I just like traveling. Chicago's a fast course. But obviously my favorite is Boston. I keep going back.
Yeah, I was like, is there anything that makes it your favorite, or just like the atmosphere, or what's so special about Boston?
Well, so the first year that I ran it, it was raining and cold, kind of like this year, but not as bad. So I wanted to go back another year just to like see, because people were like, the crowds are bigger, you know, it's a lot more, there's a lot more people and things. And so I wanted to see it on a good day.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, how many am I going to have to run to get a good day?
Right.
So my next one was a good day, but I was pregnant. And then I was like, well, I want to go back when I'm not pregnant and can run the race. So then I went back again, and then I started my Instagram and started, communicating with people. And then they were going to Boston, and then I met a whole bunch of people in Boston. And so I just love it.
Yeah, no, I grew up in the East Coast, so I actually grew up in Connecticut, and I've only watched one Boston, but watching the race is what made me, I ran in high school and middle school, and so I thought maybe one day I would run a marathon, but it was just a very kind of like a dream thing that I didn't really have any, idea of when I would start training for it or if I'd ever really do it, but just, going out and seeing people running Boston, it's really inspiring just as a spectator. So I could see, the draw. Awesome. I'm trying to think too. So you weren't always a runner though. So do you remember back to like when you started running, like how that process was for anyone that's listening and, is really inspired by all that you've accomplished, but, maybe they aren't a runner yet either. And they're not so sure if they want to start or how that process might go.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for me. So we started back, my husband now, then he was my boyfriend, but we were high school sweethearts. So we were together for a long time. We would run a couple like 5Ks, but not anything special. And we wouldn't train for them. We would just run. And then we, volunteered. His uncle is a hardcore runner. And so he started a half marathon in our hometown. We volunteered. And I was like, oh my, I really want to run the half marathon next year.
Yeah.
So we signed up and we had him make a training plan for us. And it was like our long run. The first week was like 5 miles. And it was like, I remember it was like death. I went, and then, we got up to like 7 miles, and I was like, I need a water belt. I need to buy like a water belt. So we bought the water belt, and we ran every single long run together. And, we were a 10-minute pace. We were just having fun.
Yeah.
And we weren't competitive, but we were just doing it to do it and train together. And it was something we both like to do. And we finished, and my husband then boyfriend ended up in the emergency room.
Oh my goodness.
For dehydration.
Oh no. He needed 2 water belts maybe.
Yeah, so he didn't hydrate properly before the half marathon. So when we got to the half marathon, he was already dehydrated. And then by the time we had finished, he could not keep any water down. So off to the ER we went. And in the ambulance, he's like, I am never running again.
Oh, no.
And by the time we ended up leaving the emergency room, he's like, okay, maybe again. And I signed him up again.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's good that you came around a little bit.
So keep going. Keep going. Even if you don't feel like going. There was days where we did not want to run, and we did, and it was fun and something that we like to do. So
that's awesome. Well, very cool. Well, I love your story, Mary, and really impressed by all you've done, especially this past year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And really enjoy having you on the podcast. I'm sure you'll inspire some people to get out there running. Anything else you want to share before we say goodbye today?
Nope, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi friends, it's Catherine, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode with the marathon mama, Mary. Wanted to invite you to go back to yesterday's episode with Tina Muir, who's been a longtime marathoner. She is an elite marathoner, actually, but more recently became a first-time mom. And to subscribe to the show so you don't miss tomorrow's episode with new marathoner, but mom of two, Lori Richmond. If you've been enjoying the show, I invite you to leave a rating and review on iTunes and Stitcher. But if you want to support us even more, I would love to have you check out Monday's episode. I think I'll also leave this in the show notes for today. But in Monday's episode, I shared some Cyber Monday specials and gift ideas from past guests, as well as the fact that I'm going to be giving away 5 signed hardback copies of my book, Superwomen Secrets Revealed, Successful Women Talk About Fitting and Fitness, and dare you to join them, to the first 5 supporters of the show who pledge to support us with a donation of $25 or more. So if you're looking for a unique personalized gift idea and are loving the podcast, I invite you to check that out. You can learn more by going to today's show notes or just to fitarmadillo.com/podcast. Don't forget that you want to share episodes of the show you love, because on Friday of this week, I'm doing a countdown episode of the top 5 most downloaded episodes. Since we release so many episodes of the podcast, 5 new episodes a week, there is a lot going on, and I want to make sure you never miss some of the top episodes. So that is going to be something you'll get to enjoy on Friday, that countdown, and I hope you'll share out some of those episodes that you've really loved in the meantime. As always, thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to sharing tomorrow's episode with you if you subscribe. So chat with you then. Bye.